Hello, and welcome back for another 5-minute message. My name is Brian Steele, and I have the privilege of being the pastor at Hazel Park United Methodist Church and St. Paul United Methodist Church in Bloomfield Hills. For the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about the 7 deadly sins. And today we are ending this series with the root of all of them: pride. The root of every sin we have talked about the past couple of weeks is pride. And when you deal with the root of something, when you're out there weeding and you're trying to get down into the very bottom of that weed so it doesn't grow back, you have to get down deep. What this means for our lives is that we can change our behavior, and that's usually a good first step. But to truly experience transformation, to really experience a life of Christian freedom, we got to get down to the root. It means we have to understand pride, know what it is, what it isn't, and how we can be free from it. And when I think of a life free from pride, my mind goes to the Palm Sunday story, when Jesus rides into the city on the week of his death, and he rides in on a donkey. It's not strutting in on a war horse, brandishing a sword, pretending that he's going to defeat his enemies with force or violence. He comes in on a donkey. And amidst a crowd clamoring, expecting, crying out for a victor, people cheering, expecting him to overthrow the Roman Empire, return their people to greatness once again, Jesus rides in on a donkey and gets ready to wash feet in a few days. Now, and this is important when it comes to pride, in the midst of this, Jesus never thinks less of himself. He knows who he is. Jesus heard God at his baptism call him his beloved son, and that hasn't changed. And he has been carrying this truth with him all this time. Pride is not thinking less of ourselves or believing that we aren't worthy of love. It's a willingness to empty ourselves, to lay down our desire for power, and accept lowliness. And lowliness is not about worthiness. God proclaims us as worthy. Friends, if you are wondering today if you're worthy, guess what? You are according to Jesus. Because if we aren't worthy to Jesus, he never would have come and done what he did. Lowliness is a willingness to lay down our desire to appear self-sufficient and accept our need of God. So humility is a willingness to be true to who God calls us to be, even when perhaps the expectations of others, like that crowd clamoring for Jesus to overthrow the empire, are demanding something else. Humility provides a continual centering of God holding us and reminding us of who we are and who we aren't, and rejoicing in who God has made us to be and not desiring to be anybody else. Friends, we don't have to prove our worth. You are already worthy. And pride gives us this temptation to enter into the cycle where we feel like we have to continually prove ourselves through our own human striving, and it's exhausting. Even later on in the Holy Week story, when Jesus is arrested or on the cross or headed to the cross, people are expecting him to save himself. Because if he's the Son of God, why doesn't he do this? If he has the power over God, he should be saving himself from this excruciating death. But he knows he doesn't have to prove his worth through strength. He embraces human weakness, recognizing that he doesn't have anything to prove to anybody. Jesus didn't change his behavior whether people were yelling at him or praising him. That's a powerful truth. Whether they were yelling in mockery or shouting Hosanna, he knew who he was, and he was rooted in that beloved belovedness of God. He knew his purpose, and it was not contingent on whether he was praised or rejected by the people around him. So friends, the way of humility is an invitation to be released from our need to be seen at the top, to find rest in our adoption as beloved children of God, and to let that belovedness be our center. We don't need to try to prove ourselves or prove our worth. We already have been given it. And thanks be to God for that. And that's how we can be released from pride and rest in our belovedness. All right, that's it for today's 5-minute message. I will see you next week, friends. Go in peace, knowing you are truly, truly, truly beloved.